Well, hey, back in the garage, and I want to talk about something that other people have been talking about, and with good reason, because there's been, well, this news article, this news article, this news article, this news article, that news article, that news article. There's a lot of news articles, like, on this, and it's the alleged return of and they say the Hemi V8 for Dodge. You know, I'm gonna kind of use I'm gonna use a historical. Wow, woo-wee. I'm gonna use a historical precedent to show why what the outcome of this is probably really gonna be, and a little bit of current events. So I'm gonna start with the original thing where Chrysler Corporation, this is in 1959, released a new car line. It wasn't part of a current car line. It wasn't Plymouth, Dodge, or DeSoto, or anything of that nature. It was the Valiant line. Now, the Valiant was created by Virgil Exner to compete with European import cars that used smaller engines, were light and nimble, but were a little quieter than American cars, handled a lot better. So it's this thing. I mean, it is as ugly as sin. This is an ugly, ugly car. But technologically speaking, this car is super advanced. It used unibody. It was the first mass-produced car to use unibody, which is where you just have the actual shell of the car is its strength. It doesn't use a frame underneath it, and it saves a lot of weight. It introduced the Slant 6, first to 170, then to 225. You know, it was a very quiet, small car that was its own brand for 2 years. And the reason of that was because though Chrysler thought that there was a huge market, and at first there was, for a small car with just a fuel-efficient light 6 in it, when they could have a very low hood profile because they put it at a 30-degree angle, making it the slant. It turned out that Ford, with the Falcon and the Comet, and General Motors, with their multiple cars, decided that the small cars could use small V8s. And this put Chrysler at the back edge, because now these other cars were going to wipe the floor with them. Especially, you know, when you see Oldsmobiles coming out with, you know, a small engine with turbos. It was the F-85. This was a really wild time to be a car guy then. It was crazy. So Chrysler smartly decides that we have to design a small V8 to go in this small car. So they designed a 273, and the story of the 273 is amazing. The 273 was designed in less than 4 years. I'm talking from nothing to put in a car and ready to go. The 1963 year, fall 63 for the 64s, they put it in the A-bodies, which is Chrysler's smallest car. And only Dodge and Plymouth had A-bodies. There was never an A-body Chrysler. So what we have is a Herculean effort to make a car that was competitive. And I'm going to go why this can't be redone today. The first thing, of course, is going to be government regulations. Back there in the early 60s, you didn't have EPA, you didn't have CAFE standards, you didn't have crash tests, no National Highway Safety. You just built the car and you self-regulated. You know, the consumer is the one that told you if they liked it or not. So now, back then they did it in three and a half years. Now, if you want to build an engine, not in less than 4 years, because you have to go and you have to do your own internal durability testing. You have to go and make sure that it is EPA efficient, CAFE standards, because you have to put it in a car and drive it, and then you have to crash test the car with the new engine in it. So that makes it kind of cost prohibitive, considering that they've already spent a lot of money on this Huracan 6. The second problem is the design of the new Charger. That was designed, it looks like designed to hold an inline 6. So you have to change the car. Back then, they had to change the A-bodies to make the 273 fit. It was widened slightly because it was a very narrow thing to make the Slant fit perfectly. Well, if you look at these pictures of the last generation Charger and the spy photo of the new one, you notice that the shock towers are much higher and more robust on the new one. That would kind of get in the way of a V8's head. It's hard to tell the width, though, because without a ruler, you don't know. And I have no frame of reference. But going from my experience with BMWs, BMW, when they made an inline 6, to try to fit a V8 in there, and I'll show you this, the E30, like the one I have, with a V8 in it. It can be done, but it is not a simple task. It's not a plug and play. So there's a second issue. The third issue, of course, is going to be Stellantis itself. Yes, with Stellantis, now Stellantis is a European company, and European companies aren't really known for their V8 prowess. They make them when they have to, and they usually don't do a great job of it. But the two companies that form Stellantis, which is Peugeot, Fiat, really aren't V8. They really have never brought a V8 to market. That really puts a dampener on them because they don't know how to design it. They don't care. They think that this inline 6 is more than enough. And remember, they're also on board the Green Deal. That's why in Europe they're destroying their industry by pushing electric cars, or as I like to call them, appliances, because that's what they are. You have to plug them in to use them. So now you have that. Plus, the head of Dodge was picked, McAleer, was picked by Tavares. This guy is not a car guy. Listen to what he says. Look at these statements. These are recent. This guy is not one of us. He does not care about the Hemi coming back. He is not Kuniskis. He really isn't. This guy is Kuniskis performance. This guy just doesn't care. He doesn't care about performance. The fourth problem, and the really big issue, is time. Back in the early 60s, when you had the Valiant line, it was one of 5 lines. They had 4 other divisions to make money with. And even so, the Valiant line, just with the inline 6, with the Slant 6 in it, still was selling well enough that it didn't warrant being cut, but they know they needed the V8 to be competitive in the A-bodies. So they actually had time, even though they developed that engine at warp speed. They had time, and they had other divisions making money, like Plymouth and Dodge. And Dodge with their trucks, and Plymouth with their, their regular passenger cars. They had plenty of time to get this done. Right now, they're relying on that Huracan 6 to carry them through. And here's a video from Tyler Potter. It's making the rounds, but I'm going to show you. He brings up a few issues with this Huracan 6 that may affect the time. Let's take a look. You can't. Cheerleader.
But kind of picking on the new 3-liter twin-turbo inline-6 Hurricane engine. But it's not without good reason, because we've got some issues with this thing. I gotten to do one, and what we are talking about is the Hurricane catalytic converter issue. These things are melting catalytic converters and then setting a check engine light for catalytic converter efficiency. We see a bunch of these things come in with melted catalytic converters. Again, they've melted, come apart, and set a code. Back on the Hurricane topic here, Hurricane thermostats. So not just catalytic converters, but Hurricane thermostats. Now you might be saying, well, what are you talking about? Thermostat, what could possibly go wrong there? And goodness gracious, since the Hurricane came out in, I believe 2023 was our first year for the Hurricane engine in the Jeep Wagoneer and Grand Wagoneer, we've been battling with thermostat issues. It is a very high fail rate on these thermostats, and they are failing closed, which is the absolute wrong way you would want a thermostat to fail. Continue on, hurricane misfires. Yeah, we've got misfire issues too with the Hurricane. Now, most of the time, they come in setting misfire codes on cylinders 1, 2, 3, or 4, 5, 6, the whole bank, if you will. And again, most of the time, you plug that vehicle into our scan tool, and lo and behold, there is a software update for those misfires, and most of the time, that software update does take care of the misfires.
So, as you see, not good, and I'm gonna put a link up here for it, and I'm gonna put a link below to his channel, because this guy's got church bells, man. You working on a place and you're saying this, that's pretty impressive. So with that, if you have an engine that's having issues, your time now becomes very short, because if this engine doesn't get fixed and they try to put it into the Charger, even though the Charger is very oddly marketed, but it's the trucks that's the big problem. You know, they're not going to have 5 years to make a launch of a V8 to replace the Huracan 6, or at least supplement it, because it's not a good thing. And with those issues being on just the trucks, the water pump one is going to be on everything, which, unless that's a redesign. They've had a couple of years and they haven't fixed it yet. But the burning up the cats, in a car you have less space. That could get much, much worse. So time is truly not on their side like it was in the 60s. And that is like the end-all, the be-all of why this is not going to happen. Honestly, that's my honest opinion, my honest assessment of this. I'd like to hear yours on that, because, hey, comment, because this is very fascinating stuff. You know, and also, you know, let's always remember that this is also, when they were Fiat, they always flipped out the, the CUDA's coming back, the CUDA's coming back, like with these things. Notice the dates on them. That was always because the trademark got refiled, and that's a whole nother video of why your stuff costs so much money. Yeah, but, you know, once again, those are my thoughts. Comment if you got something from this. Hey, hit like, subscribe, you know, share it. And I mean, I really hope for the best on this, but the past management of Stellantis has basically backed them into a corner. And I don't know if there's any coming out of this corner, because they went along with the the government mandates on things instead of having a backup plan in their back pocket. And Tavares really has destroyed the company. And it's amazing how it can continue. And you know, if you have a cool old car, or something fun to drive, or a cool old car, whatever, take it out. You'll make someone's day, maybe even your own. And I'll talk to you soon.